Hello, people of the internet.
Hello,
I am American McGee,
I'm
and we
Martin.
are coming to you once again from the underground lair here in Shanghai, China, where it's slowly becoming fall outside. It's getting a bit crisp.
This morning was the first day at this part of the year I remember seeing my breath.
Is that because it's so stinky?
Yeah, there's like onions and fish and
See?
garlic.
Wow. So I'm not the only one then. Yeah, it's turning to fall here, and we are continuing making progress on Alice Asylum as the seasons turn. So today we're going to be looking at artwork. We're going to be looking at some design and story stuff. We're also going to do a little catch up on business development because there are some developments there under the umbrella of business development.
Redacted.
Yes, and we're gonna be reading your comments from Patreon. I believe you've got a printout over there. And what are we doing for prizes today, Martin?
What are we doing? We're doing these teeny tiny, well, they're still quite big, I guess. Sacrifice your queen prints. That were mistakenly made at the wrong size. So
Yeah.
we have a little pile of these, and we're going to give some away.
Well, that was a bit of a shame because the print shop we use, they generally do a pretty good job, though we often find that they don't package stuff up very well when they ship it to us. But when it comes to the print quality and the material and the getting the sizes right, they're always pretty good. Yeah. This batch of art prints though came over. Some of them were so badly done. It was like a landscape piece of art printed in portrait mode.
So, like, imagine that, but massive white bars at the top and bottom, and then the print across the middle.
It was really bad. I was pretty shocked by it. And anyway, but one of the funny things that came out of it was these kind of smaller art prints of Sacrifice Your Queen. So anyway, instead of throw those away, we are going to give them away, which basically is like garbage. We're giving you garbage for prizes today.
Enjoy the garbage.
Enjoy that.
We love you all.
I do see lots of our insane children here in the chat. Who do we have there today, Martin?
Patient 322, Wendy J, Octo Greg's here. Who else we got? Dispel Yell. Yeah. Got some of the old gang hanging around, but I see some new names.
Yeah, who is Cyrilla Rose? Says the calendar is in Chicago, waiting to be delivered from customs. Wow.
Yeah.
And Aaron R1304, Welsh guy. I know a Welsh guy, somebody that I go sailing with in Thailand.
Ooh.
Yeah. I hear there's funny things that the Brits say about the Welsh. Basically that they're rude and whatnot.
I don't really have any opinion about the Welsh in my head.
Anyway,
apart from the crazy old language.
Yeah, difficult to understand. But welcome, Welsh guy. I like Welsh guys and people in general, not just the guys. You know, the girls are fine too, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Golden Lily says, I finally managed to be on a stream. Yay!
Death Dealer Aries. New name. I wonder who that was previously.
Oh, is Aaron Blade? Maybe. Could be. We did have that was Blade that we had that crazy address that we always had we couldn't even pronounce where we were sending stuff. Okay, well we know Blade. What's up, Blade? Long time no see.
Darth Cutie. Hi.
Darth Cutie.
Darth Cutie 32 to be exact.
All right.
Yeah, some people talking about the calendars turning up. It is happening now, and everyone is super happy with the packaging.
That packaging was like a tank. I mean, it was pretty secure in there, and that was all thanks to my lovely wife Yin. So if you're happy with the packaging, then you can say something sweet about Yin. Yeah, she did a really good job in finding the styrofoam and the box and fit everything together, and then the little corner protectors. And I guess that the guys at China Division, where we ship from, they did a pretty good job putting all that together. So
they are certainly following the instructions that were provided.
There you go.
Well done, guys.
Awesome. So anybody asking any interesting questions? I see somebody saying, how is the weather over there? Didn't we just cover that? It's turning to fall. This morning we woke up and it was 7 degrees Celsius outside. What is that? It's like 40 something degrees.
Something like that.
Fahrenheit. But the days are still pretty warm. It's still kind of topping out at like 23, which I think is 72-ish. It's very, very comfortable in the daytime.
Yeah, like I said, when I got over here, I could see the chill of the breath, but by the time I actually came to the office from Starbucks, it had warmed up. So we're not quite wintry yet.
So then P Glittered Pope Charms says, did you know some of your fans can be real F-heads? Yes, we've know
seen
that.
They mentioned the on the latest post on Facebook, the one we've seen.
Oh, you mean the one where we deleted and then blocked that person? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, we do actually keep an eye on the comments on a lot of those channels. I know Martin keeps an eye on those, and so yeah, there's people out there who can get a bit wound up and nonsensical, I guess would be. And I mean, I feel for them. I understand that the general premise, when you put all the pieces together, the people are complaining that, hey, I've been coming to this page for ages, and it feels like it's been, not feels like, it's been like 2 years, and where's the game? And that's a fair enough question. I do wish that people, as was suggested in the comments in response to that particular fan, I do wish they would do a little bit of research on their own. I'm always surprised when people get really bent out of shape around something where they could in fact go and read a bit of comments, and they could read or watch some of the videos. And what's surprising to me is, like, I reserve my getting angry about stuff for instances where I feel it's warranted, and in order for me to feel that way, I have to first dig into it a little bit. So, like, we've just recently run into these problems I mentioned on Twitter about Facebook, because Facebook's demanding that we verify our location, but in order to do that, you have to be on your phone, and you're not allowed to use a VPN. And guess what? We're in China, and we can't access Facebook without a VPN. So there's this sort of messed up catch-22, and then the frustration is compounded by the fact that none of their support channels seem to be functioning these days. So we have no way to say, hey guys, help us out here. And we're not even trying to do anything shifty. Like my Facebook literally says I'm in China. But they don't seem to have a workaround for this. So in that instance, like, once I've spent hours, and literally both of us have spent hours clicking around and trying like every single way just to get through to a support person. By the way, we spend thousands of dollars per month. Over my history of ad spending on Facebook, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads. And as a paying customer, I have no way to get in touch with Facebook. But it's quite funny that in my experience as a customer who feels quite upset about the situation, you still don't see me going on to Twitter or Facebook and writing the sort of things that person was writing on that Facebook post about us, which was pretty derogatory about the other fans. So I always find that stuff to be mystifying. I don't really understand it.
Some people just like to rage. It's just the way of the world.
Yeah, it does.
They do seem to think, I mean, like you say, it's probably quicker to Google something than it is to go and vent.
This is true.
Get this sometimes. It's not a major thing, but occasionally on Zendesk, I'll get like something from, can you just give me some information about like where my package is, like what's happening? And they reply. They're actually replying to an email that's got the tracking link in it. So I'll just open the tracking link and I'll say something like, well, according to the tracking we sent you, this is happening.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I see
Bye.
that happen quite a lot. Well, anyway, I think there are people out there who like to be upset. They're looking for a reason to get upset, so can't be helped.
So,
but yeah, to answer the question that was asked by Poop Glitter P Head, whatever the person's name was, yeah, we know some of the fans out there can get a little aggro. All right, so we're gonna play a little bit of Madness Returns. We should have been doing that while we bantered, so people weren't just looking at our faces as we bantered.
People love to look at our faces.
I don't know about that. No, I'm not sure. My face is getting all old and wrinkly. I'm convinced this has something to do with becoming a dad. That the moment that you become a dad, your body just goes, right, done. You no longer need to attract a mate. Time to get fat and old.
Then why am I getting fat and old?
Well, I don't know. It might be because you don't drink water and don't eat vegetables.
Drinking water now.
That's not water. That's in a plastic bottle with sugar. That's not water.
I'm sure there's water in it.
That's not... That's not how it works, Martin. Don't ask me why you're getting older. You know, It's a reason people think you're my dad.
It's because of my wisdom.
No, I don't think so. All right, so this looks like it's kind of semi-broken. I don't know. I can't seem to make progress here. I see a platform floating up there, though. How do we reach that platform? I think I need to hit that thing.
Bomb that somehow.
I'm gonna do it. Here we go. Yay! Now, how do you get up there? That's the question. There's no ledge climbing in this game like that.
Well, let's see if there's any advice.
Oh, there's always advice. It always just comes a little too late.
Wendy J says I'm handsome. That's all the advice I need.
How much money do you send Wendy J every month? This sort of...
Really, the right amount.
Well, I guess so. So, when I tweeted this morning about the fact we were going live today, I did mention that we were not going to talk about the U.S. elections, even though that is like the main news that the whole world is very interested in right now. And before we started the live stream, we did talk about it because obviously it is of great interest. I'm kind of curious to hear from the people in our chat, though, like how many people are suffering sort of politics, election burnout. Because I have a lot of friends here in Shanghai who are jokingly referring to it as like the politics crack pipe, because they just can't kind of get over it. You know, they're just constantly checking the news and trying to see what's going on. By the way, also in the chat, tell me how to get past this scene, because I'm pretty sure I'm stuck. Is that I'm supposed to run this way?
Go back to the hookah you broke free.
Oh. Okay. Oh, I forgot to suck on the hookah, right? Oops. Sorry about that. That was dumb.
What do we got? So yes, P Glitter is Bye Bye Orange Clown. What else? Moon Blessing isn't looking at politics anymore for their own mental health. That sounds like wise words there.
It does sound like wise words.
Was this M Meisterkav has lost weight over it.
Wow.
Some worrying going on there.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe you should stop looking as well.
That sounds pretty severe.
It sounds good though as well. I should watch more. I'll lose a bit of weight.
The Trump diet. the uncertain election diet. Maybe somebody should market that.
Maybe Black Blade is over it. It's exhausting.
So, you know that the guy who I co-wrote these games with, RJ Berg, it makes him quite crazy and upset. And last year he even wrote an email out to friends and family in which he blamed becoming sick on this. And I mean sick like in a fairly serious way, and physically sick. And you know, I understand it. I understand that it really winds us up. But I also think people lose sight of the fact that the winding up is a part of the business model of the news media. There's a couple of people who talk about this notion of limbic hijacking, and that's what their job is. It is to outrage people. It is to upset people. And if they're not upsetting you and they're not outraging you, then they're not engaging you. You will go find something else more important and more productive to do. So when you think about it in that context, the news media's job is to pull you away from more important, more productive things, and they can only do that by enraging you.
I've certainly heard of this.
And we might have
limbic hijacking.
Limbic hijacking, because the limbic system is the part that controls your fight or flight response. So the goal for those who write the headlines and massage the media that we consume is to make sure that when we read those headlines, we enter into fight or flight. And if they've not done that with their headlines, then they've not done their job. They won't survive very long in that job. So it's sort of like, if your job was being a garbage man, but you didn't pick up the garbage, then you would be fired from being a garbage man. In the news media, your job is to hijack people in their fight or flight response, and if you don't do that, you will be fired, right? So, I think people should keep that in mind. Mark Twain, 100 and something years ago, commented on that the man who doesn't read the news is uninformed, and the man who reads the news is misinformed. And I think that the fact that this was known back then, and there are even people, beyond or before that commented on this. This is something that the world has known of as a problem for a very long time.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Now, what's this? This is a beautiful level. This was...
Can you read the sky?
That sounds like a Jimi Hendrix lyric. Yeah, you can. And I think that what they did was they put in some traditional Chinese poetry. And I can read certain of the characters, but I can't tell you the meaning of them. I'm sure that's in an FAQ somewhere, though.
Very probably. What else? What have we got here? Nobra-chan asks if the flowers on the dress are peonies.
Yeah, they would be. And this was the... How do I say it? So our team, when we made Madness Returns, obviously was largely made up of Chinese people here in Shanghai. And when we got to this section of the game, it was one of the ideas was to give our Chinese team a chance to shine in production of art that is their art. And then we had to come up, though, with a sort of an excuse for why Alice would have had this imagery in her mind. Mm-hmm. Now, conveniently, what I found was that in the Victorian newspapers of the era, obviously that's sort of redundant, in the Victorian newspapers, there were reports quite often of the goings on in China and in Japan. And that during the Victorian era, there was also a fascination with all things Japanese, Chinese, right, Asian. So, right. So we also gave one of the characters, the lawyer, Radcliffe, we gave him a fascination with this culture and its artifacts, which is why earlier in the game, when you saw we were going through Radcliffe's office, there were vases and other things, artifacts related to this culture that formed the basis of the explanation for why young Alice would have had these elements in her mind.
Yeah, that is the rule, isn't it? Can't be in Wonderland if Alice didn't see it or experience it know of it.
That is the rule. Is that a dragonfly just sort of frozen there in midair? It is. But I was always really impressed with this. I think it formed a obviously relatively unique corner of her imagination. But I've always got the sense that there was a bit of a mixed reaction to this artistically from the fans. I think a lot of people kind of had a question of like, well, why is this there? How is this Wonderland? So I don't know. What do people in the chat think about this area?
A bunch of people say they like it. Looks very pretty. It's their favorite. Somebody mentioned that the enemies are extremely well balanced in this zone.
Yeah, the enemies are really interesting.
Seems to be a pretty popular zone to be in. There it is, Cyrilla Rose. Some of the best designed and balanced enemies, they say.
Yeah, I like the wasps are pretty cool. I do hope in Asylum we're going to get to explore a few more kind of really interesting areas like this. Now, in one of the most recent updates that I posted over on Patreon, I actually asked our insane children for their feedback on locations we could explore. And there was a poll, and you can actually still go and vote in that poll, but I don't know that we'll pay attention to the results beyond what was already done. But the poll contained places like the Vale of Tears, which is one of my favorites, and also some new places that I thought of. For instance, an area within her imagination inspired by the funeral of her parents, because of course that must have happened, right? The parents died. I don't think they just threw them in a hole in the ground. So I had this notion that perhaps we would see an area inspired by religious iconography, the inside of a church, and like it's known that that the Little family and also Lewis Carroll, they were very much connected to the church. So it would be reasonable to assume that Alice would have that sort of imagery in her mind. So that was one of the things I was thinking about in the last week, just what it would look like to see Alice exploring that corner of her mind. Because for me, when I was a child, man, the church was larger than anything, and it was terrifying on the one hand and glorious on the other. And so I can just imagine like the experience of a young child going to the funeral of her parents in a church in that era must have been really impactful. So I think that's going to be something that's really interesting for us to explore.
Would Alice have actually been at the funeral?
That's a good question, and I think we get to answer that. I mean, I don't think that it's beyond reason that she could have somehow managed to get there, but I don't know. It's a good question for everybody. Can we see Alice in the church? What do people think about that? Will people feel sort of that's retconned, it's cheating? I don't know.
Right, let's see. What else we got here? People talking about what they love. Nicholas Brokaw loves the Veil of Tears, as most people do, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Veil of Tears. You know, good. I'm gonna have to up my fighting strategy here, clearly, because
You just won. It's fine.
Well, I got hit.
Okay.
I don't want to get hit. I don't want to suck. So I don't know how many people know, but there is some fairly culturally sensitive stuff going on in here. So when this was created, the notion of what's being echoed here is essentially the Nanjing Massacre, which was where the Japanese rolled into China and did really awful things to the people living in China during World War II, and specifically in places like Nanjing. There's a lot of literature and there's some movies on this, and it's really awful stuff. Jordan Peterson mentions some of the literature that came out of the Japanese in places where they were doing experiments on the local Chinese that are beyond anything that the Nazis ever even nightmared about. So anyway, this section does contain a bit of a sort of reference to that. Now that's something probably, obviously that Alice wouldn't have known about because it was in the future, but I know that when our Chinese artists were creating this, they purposely layered that in there, but at the same time they didn't want to admit that they had, because it's culturally sensitive and maybe not entirely appropriate. I don't know, but that's why you see what you see here in some fashion is the mix of Japanese and Chinese iconography and relics, and then just if you want to pick up the subtext of it, the notion that the wasps are Japanese and that the ants were Chinese is kind of where the team was going with that. So
okay,
just a little bit of behind the scenes there.
I think Jennifer said, and Nobra-chan is also saying, I don't know who said it first, that back in the ye olde times, people died young, so there was likely a lot of funerals. So even if Alice didn't see her parents' funeral, she would have seen a funeral.
This is right.
That she could then superimpose her particular situation onto.
Well, and part of the story, the context to that could be Alice saying something to the effect of, "I didn't get to go to the funeral of my family." So what's worse? Is it worse to not be invited to your own parents' funeral, perhaps because there's some suspicion about your being complicit in the murder, in the death? I mean, there is this constant kind of echoing in the game of it's your fault, right? So it could be that Alice's sense of it being somehow her fault is related to the fact that she wasn't invited to the funeral. And how would that make you feel? It'd make you feel pretty crap, right?
Yeah.
So then maybe she's got a kind of nightmarish visit to this funeral that involves... You guys are just going to stand there. Cool. That involves her feeling really guilty for not going, right? And I think that could make a lot of sense.
There's a way in there.
Are you just going to stand there staring at that? Okay, well, whatever. Eat some tea.
Eat tea, wasp face. You're actually doing not bad, and you're not even dressed as Tiger King.
I'm not. Yeah, it's true. Maybe the power up effect of dressing as Tiger King just stays with you.
Maybe.
Once you're Tiger King, you're always Tiger King.
Once you go Tiger King, you never
go elephant. You never go.
Well, it'd be interesting to see. Is it a permanent buff, or will it wear off?
Well, now you've jinxed it.
No, you knocked on wood. It's fine.
You jinxed it for sure.
What do we got? Why did this game not have?
Why did this game not have what?
I'm not sure. There must be another part to that somewhere.
Maybe that's like the sound of one hand clapping. You're not really supposed to answer the other half of that.
Don't forget about the Vorpal Blade Hobby Horse combo. YXXY. Is that a good combo?
YXX. Y. I don't know. We'll try later on.
Perhaps the funeral attendees attack her. How dare she come to taunt her victims? The mourners swarm her.
Yeah, I think again we've already got some sections where she's gonna be hearing this idea that this is all her fault. So we go into Judgement. That was what was shared on the most recent Patreon post, and for sure one of the themes in there is going to be linked to this. And I was thinking, because I haven't written the caterpillar scene. Haven't written a caterpillar scene kind of close enough to that yet, and so that could be what that could be where we see the funeral scene. I'm not sure that the funeral is going to be like a Wonderland realm. I kind of feel like it's more likely that it'll be. Will you just shoot fire already? Come on. I think that the funeral stuff will be during one of the caterpillar visits. Yeah. That's like Martin's visible breath. Martin's visible breath. Yeah, exactly.
I could see her family corpses coming to life, disfigured, and that could be a fight with Judgement. Maybe that would be an overusage of family corpses. I mean, it's not.
What? You can never overuse family corpses.
But we already have them as sort of like mechanical insects as well in some other art, don't we?
We'll see.
Let's see.
Come on, game.
Could
What's
come back
happening
as
here?
bacon people.
Bacon people.
Yeah.
That's the worst kind. Well, actually, bacon people smell really good, though. You know what time it is?
Yeah.
It's
Is it time
for
to
me
die?
Oh, I can't believe I pulled that off. Whew. That made me clench all kinds of parts of my body.
American pulls it off live on air.
Very serious clenching going on there. No, come back! Ah! Okay, I did that on purpose. Come on. Surely you know I did that on purpose. It is time for a prize.
All right.
It is time for a prize. All right. I think that, what did we say? We're going to give away this little funny mini print.
This little mini print of Sacrifice Your Queen.
Sacrifice your queen.
Yeah, look at that.
Alice in the chess realm.
Does this roll well? I'm sure it does.
Don't do it now. So what's the question? Did you come up with some questions, Mr. Smarty
Came up
Pants?
with one question.
I don't believe it.
But it's not relevant to anything we've said. It just occurred to me, like the last few days I've been watching Rick and Morty. How does the portal know when to close?
The Rick portal?
Yeah.
Is it not once they've both been through?
But how does it know that two people are going through?
Come on, it's Rick tech. I'm pretty sure Rick's technology assumes that if Rick's going to go through, he's got a Morty with him.
But sometimes it
They
just
do
goes...
have some sort of proximity sensor. There was one episode where there was something about Morty not being nearby, or he had some sort of tracking system embedded in him, so...
But I've also seen it close just after Rick went through, and I've seen it stay open after two people went through, and then Morty was having a conversation. And then after Morty went through, it closes.
Well,
so how does it know to stay open long enough?
Well, that's the question. And then Nicholas Brokaw says, I've never actually watched Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Get out, Nicholas.
Get out.
Get out.
You're not allowed to watch our streams anymore.
Nicholas, you're missing out. You really are. So that's the question. In order to win the poster, answer how the portal knows to close My answer to that would be that there's some sort of biological sensor embedded into Morty that allows the portal to know whether or not a Morty is nearby. And yeah, and then somebody else just said plot magic.
Plot magic is the most obvious one, I think.
I mean,
similar
this
to plot armor.
This sort of question asked about a show where a grandpa drags his grandson through time-space portals and fights aliens and collects death crystals, and you want to know how the portal operates? I mean, come on. That's
there's a mythos and a logic to the craziness.
I don't think that that's true at all. Okay.
Well, Lucky Dragon says that maybe he puts the number of people in just before he opens it.
Lucky Dragon would know, for sure. All right, we're going to spin it here. Nightbot's saying there's only 44 eligible users.
Well, it only picks a user who's chatted.
You know that you're only eligible if you write something in the chat. That's why we ask these questions. It's not because we actually care about how the portals close. We're trying to get you to type something in so that Nightbot sees you. Now, there's like nearly 100 people watching the stream, but only 40 of you eligible to win a prize. So better say something. Unless this is broken and not working.
No.
Well, let's try. There we go. Mama Basil, congratulations. Ooh. You have just won a garbage print that we were otherwise going to throw away. And so, yeah, congratulations on that. You need to do the thing, which is to send an email to support@mysterious.design. Include your name, your phone number, your address. Do all of that in a human-readable format that doesn't require going over with the ballot checkers or isn't going to get caught inside of one of the Dominion election vote fraud machines and isn't going to be rejected by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Do all that stuff. Do that within 24 hours. If you go beyond that, again, violation of the Supreme Court decision on when prize nonsense can come in. And then we will send you your prize in the mail. Maybe it'll be that poster, or it may just be some actual garbage, much like the U.S. elections.
Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows what you're going to get? That's the theme of now, of 2020. Are you going to get a steaming pile of garbage or a big old bag of barf? Who knows? It's just fun times. All right, let's talk about terrifying cats.
Scruffy Bumps.
This is Scruffy Bumps.
It is.
Our polls actually do go better than the election. So Scruffy Bumps is a plushy dreadful. This is a piece of art that Jennifer, who is there in the chat, she did the original piece. It's like this. And he's basically just meant to be a kind of semi-terrifying, semi-cute cat. And he's very fluffy. Now, it turns out that we got a Scruffy Bumps prototype, which is what you see on the screen here. And he's there on screen alongside a toy that we bought just from another brand to get a sense of how high quality cats are built. Because who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway, so this is the sample one, and there's Scruffy Bumps. Now they're not going to show up. You know, you're wearing a black shirt. That's not a great way to show off a black cat. I think this one's from Korea or something.
I'll hold it here then.
Yeah. Why don't you give it to me? Because you're just terrible. So this is the Scruffy Bumps prototype. He's actually quite big. He's a lot bigger than, say, like our rabbits.
Well, he's dangly.
He's dangly. So there's a rabbit. There's a Scruffy Bumps. And yeah, he's got sand.
That's something.
It's actually the ground up dreams of dead children.
Right.
Yeah, anyway.
That's what it feels like.
He's got sand in his feet, and so you can whack people. So that kind of gives him a bit of weight, and it makes him hang down like quite good.
You're gonna get some people. I bought your Scruffy Bumps, and the leg's got no stuffing in it, and it's terrible.
I hate that comment so much. So we always get people writing to us about the rabbit, and then they complain that there's no stuffing in the arms, and we're like, yeah, that's by design.
We definitely need to put that in the product
put that
description.
In the description. Anyway, so that's a Scruffy Bumps. He's a cat. Now, as you saw from the drawing here, what we got back, he's kind of lacking in the right shape. And then also they need to work on the face. So if we go to, can he get up close there? Yeah. So he's kind of almost there. He's got a little bit too much scruff in his eyes. He's almost there. think there's something not creepy enough about him, though.
Oh, the nose isn't helping.
No. So he shouldn't have a nose. But I mean, the point of this is that if you were a child, if your parents bought this for you, you'd be terrified. And we're not quite there yet.
Not quite.
Yeah. So we'll get there.
It's a good first try.
Now, the funny thing is that these things exist in my home here, and Lucky sees them all coming in. And he, by the way, he loves cats. Don't tell Lulu because it pisses her off. But the thing is, he really likes cats, and his first kind of usable word was meow 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 meow,
Right.
and he kind of sings it meow 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 like that, and he really goes crazy, chases them all around. So he likes these cats. He likes this Scruffy Bumps quite a lot as well. He snuggles the Scruffy Bumps. So we kind of failed in our goal to make it terrify children, but I don't know. Maybe later on in life he'll have horrible nightmares. Anyway,
It's a possibility.
If you have any comments about Scruffy Bumps, I know people are saying, like Wendy says, off with the nose, and the mouth needs to be closer to the mouth. Wendy, doesn't make any sense.
The mouth can't be any closer to the mouth.
The mouth is the mouth.
Yeah, a lot of people said no nose, but clearly that's a thing because it's not supposed to have one.
Yeah, we're working on that. But this is what we call crowd design. Getting these prototypes back from the toy maker based on our drawings. Sometimes they nail it on the first go round, and sometimes they don't.
Sometimes we end up with a Cheeto bunny.
I miss those days, though. I wish that we had more Cheeto bunny stuff going on. But
wish they would mess it up more at the start.
Yeah, but it's pretty close. It's looking good. So I don't think we're going to complain too much about that. We expect another revision of that to come along relatively soon, and that'll add to the collection of Plushy Dreadfuls you can get over in the Mysterious Shop. So this was some art that Jennifer sent over. Again, she is in the chat. I think she mentioned that this was... By the way, Jennifer, I mean, this is really a family channel. I don't know why you're drawing wolf junk. Anyway, she's done a key ring, and I think this is supposed to be a keyringy thing as well, but it's kind of perverted. Anyway, Jennifer can tell us in the chat exactly what this dead smashed wolf is supposed to be.
Dead smashed wolf. Looks like it's been run over.
Yeah. So is it like, because I saw somebody was doing these cat plush. They're like shawls, like a throw. You put around your shoulder.
It's a bookmark.
It's a bookmark. She says. Okay. Is it made fluffy or it's just made out of paper?
Yeah.
It's clearly not for children. I mean, what? what are you doing?
Well, I mean, that's clearly a leg, but is that the bumhole cross that we can see?
I don't know if that's clearly a leg. I mean,
well, of course it's clearly a leg.
Okay. I mean, I can't unsee it now, so it's...
Well, stop thinking about members.
Okay. Now, this one is clearly a key ring. And I like this key ring. It's all bloody and splattered. This would be a bit of a problem, though. Like, we keep getting our ads rejected by Facebook because of having blood splatters. And that's really frustrating. But,
yeah.
Got
one rejected the other day. I just wasn't thinking. I did the new tattooed caterpillar and Alice. Oh, well, I'll cut the caterpillar out. That's a pretty cool caterpillar. Got rejected. Why? Oh, he's smoking the hookah.
Ah, right.
It just didn't occur to me when I cut the picture out.
Yeah, well, you can't do that. Facebook does not take kindly to anything like that. Blood, knives, smoking. Nope, can't have it. Yeah. So anyway, the keyring is pretty cool, and I know Yen wants to make some stuff like this, so we're probably going to push to get a little wolf made, but I think that Jen's idea that maybe the blood with quote marks around it only shows up in the dark, we might try that. Although I'd be kind of concerned that the factory might use something that's actually literally radioactive, but we'll see.
Well, they all are, aren't they? Glow in the dark things. Radium.
There's like a little bit of radioactive stuff. I mean more like Fukushima style radioactive stuff. We want to be careful about that. So on the other plushy dreadfuls that I think a lot of people know that we've been working on, that is Bare-Fisted Bear. Now, Yin says he's done, basically, and his bag is done, and then I think he's going into the shop maybe next week. So if you're interested in that, you can go over to Mysterious, and there's like a placeholder page for him, and then you can sign up to be. There's this red button here, this email when available button. Just click on that, and then you'll get emailed automatically when he goes on sale. The other thing we're doing right now is that the original plushy dreadful distressed white rabbit, which may or may not be modeled off of a character.
It's definitely not modeled on anything.
Well, if it was modeled off of Alice and the rabbit she carried, we might get in trouble with somebody. So it's not, but it isn't. But anyway, this sold out. So now we're making a new one. And the bag that it comes with, this is the old bag that had a Rutledge Asylum logo on it. Jen has done up a really cool Griffin and Jabberwock Toy Shop logo. So this new logo is going to go on the bag front and back. And then the same kind of stressed rabbit will go in the bag and then go out. So if you didn't already get one of those, or you just want to get a new bag, then that's on the way. And
popular old rabbit, that.
It's crazy popular. I mean, shockingly popular, but it's great. You know, it's nice to have something that people are interested in. The other rabbits are doing really well. We're very thankful to Jennifer for helping put those designs together. And then this is the Pig in Wolf, aka Hammibal Lecter. This also will arrive in the shop. I think it's next week, is what Yin said. So again,
it's all going on.
Yeah. So again, if you're interested in one of these, you want to buy a pig inside of a wolf for one of your friends for Christmas, you can go find the page that this is on at Mysterious, and they both come with cute bags and whatnot. So there you go. They'll be there soon.
Excellent.
Good stuff.
Excellent shilling.
That's plushy dreadfuls. That's what's going on in the world of plushy dreadfuls.
It really is.
Okay, in less cute and fluffy news. So
what's this all about?
So this is Joey's very early work that she's doing on the pieces of the champion. And the pieces of... I gotta figure out how we call this. Like we need to crowd design what exactly this is referred to. Pieces of champion, the pieces of the champion, the 5 pieces, I don't know. But we need to come up with something where these are given a proper name, because they are one of the pivotal things that drives Alice's journey through Asylum. Hatter will tell her that, hey, we need to build a champion for the Queen so that we can defeat the chaos that's taking over Wonderland. And in order to do that, there are these pieces they want to graft onto the Jabberwock. But, I'm trying to find the post. Was it Welcome to the Barbecue? No, Yield. Was it We're on the Road
Maybe that one.
Oh, maybe it was the one that had the survey in it. Oh, yeah, this is the one. Okay, so, yeah, you know, Hatter's domain looks like this. It blew up. It blew up because he was doing these experiments to try to understand the nature of Wonderland, and in the process of it blowing up, all of these pieces that he was working on got flung far and wide. So you end up with a central quest that Alice is on to collect the pieces and return them to Hatter. So that kind of forms the backbone for the adventure that she then goes on. She uses these the Hall of Doors as a kind of fast travel way of getting around Wonderland, and goes out into various different domains of Wonderland in order to collect the pieces. So all this stuff is getting written in to this narrative document that I'm working on. And so far I'm up to the Veil of Tears, which is the stuff that was brought up the other day on that poll. I was asking for people to give some feedback on where it is that Alice would go next. So just so you know, behind the scenes, there is writing going on. Now, I'm being quite a hypocrite because I'm always asking our artists to share their art, like this piece of art from Joey, while it's still very much in sketch form. And it's, I think, a bit troublesome, problematic, annoying for them sometimes to be working on an idea, and then have it thrown into this notion of crowd design, and have that feedback perhaps hijack their process before they feel comfortable with the kind of feedback that we often see that they get. Now, the feedback, I think, sometimes just comes from me, and I need to probably be a little more careful not to be too critical around artwork when it's in its early stages. I think part of that is driven by my desire to make these live streams kind of more engaging and funny and fun. But I think I realized the other day that engagement and funny and fun shouldn't come at the expense of discouraging our artists exploring in certain directions, and feeling free to make the kind of art they want to make.
For sure. Sounds right. In the chat, a bunch of people seem to be liking the idea of like champion trophies for the names of these things.
But they're not really trophies. They're gonna get grafted onto like the Jabberwock 2000, like the Bionic Man. We can rebuild him faster, stronger, better. And so this is, if you remember in the first Alice game, the Jabberwock is this mechanical contraption with gears and all this kind of stuff going on. When we find him in this story, he's still going to be just like flesh and bone, but I think he's going to be flesh and bone and partly defeated, or sort of he's kind of given up. And so the grafting on of these pieces will be what kind of initiates him becoming strong enough to confront the chaos, plus being under the control of the queen, which is why, like, you see the brain here, it's like bullets, but it's going to be something that's stuck into him so that he can be controlled by and manipulated by the queen.
Yeah. Maybe not trophies then. Wendy J doesn't like the zipper on the eyeball. Makes them uncomfortable. Kind of creepy.
Wait, she doesn't like it because it makes her uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Isn't that part of the point of art like this, is to make you feel uncomfortable?
I think so.
Right. Well, we do need to come up with a name for these, and then the name needs to be slotted into the work that's being done over here on the story. So to get back to this, the point I was trying to make is that a lot of work is being done on the story, and yet I'm not sharing it with our insane children. Now, why is that? This is the hypocrisy. It's the sense that if I share this and start to get feedback too early, it's liable to derail, discombobulate, mess up my work that's being done here, because I fear that if I start getting feedback on story stuff too soon, I will feel discouraged or broken or unable to complete all of this, right? And I don't know if writing is necessarily different than drawing, and I guess that's something, because I'm not by nature, I'm not by profession, whatever, I'm not a sketch artist. I don't sit down and draw stuff, other than the most basic doodles. So I don't know if artists, when they're working through concepts, could also feel that same sort of like, hey, I don't want eyes on my work just yet. I don't want that kind of feedback. That's kind of a question.
Some people will give opinions.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jennifer's quite engaged in this process, and I don't think she's got much of an issue with it, and I don't think our artists in general have much of an issue with it. It's been working for all this time, but anyway, it's an interesting point related to crowd design and what it is that we do here. We want to make sure that, like, it works, right? Everybody's happy and comfortable.
Yep. Crimson Mischief asks, will the Hatter and the Jabberwacky have a Dr. Frankenstein and monster relationship? I like Jabberwacky. I like that.
For sure, Hatter is the one who's going to retrofit the Jabberwock to be this new mechanical monstrosity. I don't know, though, just yet whether or not I'm prepared to talk much about their relationship beyond that, because I will say there's a bit of a twist involved in, well, look, anytime you've got an expectation, right, in a narrative, anytime you've been setting up an expectation in a narrative, you should expect that that expectation will be subverted, right? That if in the plot to a particular film, you know, they just keep going on and on and on about how they're going to get to this place and everything's going to be fine, you can be pretty certain that when they get there, they're going to be effed. Like, that's just, you know, never works like that. So I will say that once the pieces are collected and the Jabberwock has been transformed, yeah, the outcome's not going to be what you maybe thought. So there you go.
We did just have a VPN wobble, a big old dip, but it didn't die.
That's great.
So yay for that, I guess.
Alrighty, so Jennifer says, I find it wasteful time-wise to render a full image without knowing if it's even worth pursuing. Writing I wouldn't show until it was to a point when I was confident the right things would be commented on, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's possible to achieve a quick sketch in artwork that people can look at and say, yeah, that works. Please continue on that. Whereas a quick sketch in writing can be really difficult. I mean, because a quick sketch of the story we're writing here is, you know, insane girl ponders her belly button, basically, right? You know, it's there's all this stuff going on inside, but at the end of the day, there is an adult Alice figure in London who, in the back of her subconscious, has got an itch. Like, that's it, right? So,
yeah.
You know, you have to flesh it out. You have to put a little more meat on the bones before people really understand all that. So,
right. What's that image that we can see that they can't?
Well, this is another piece of art that Joey did, and again, it's a good segue because this isn't a piece of art that was requested. It wasn't a piece of art that was in any part of the process that we're working through, but the spirit moved her, right? As you would say about the religious, Joey wrote and said that she just felt inspired to show this thing she refers to as a sky train and a jumbled, broken, chaotic wonderland in the background. So again, this is a very early sketch that she's working on. It's apropos of nothing. Like, there's no portion of the story that has called out for a scene like this. There's nothing that we've put into the tasks or any, you know, the task management system or anything like that that said, hey, let's get a shot of Alice looking at a train. Just Joey wanted to make something, so she's making something, and that's fine. Like, you know, to be clear, I don't want to put a lid on what it is our artists do when they feel a sudden kind of inspiration, because a lot of times some of the best art comes out of sudden inspiration. And for me, writing the story, there have been multiple instances where something that was not necessarily requested ends up being something that inspires quite a large and important part somewhere inside the story. So something to think about. This is obviously stuff that she's cobbled together off of imagery from the internet, and there's even a web link in there for a Taobao shop. The Taobao shop. I'm guessing it's a Taobao shop that sells toy trains.
Probably,
or maybe sells art of trains. I'm not sure. But yeah. So this is very early process stuff that she's piecing things together. That looks to me like art, or maybe even a screen cap from Madness Returns, right? So she's pulling little pieces together here to kind of come up with a concept.
All right, and she's continuing with this then? She's not being slapped on the wrist and told to stop?
Well, no, I mean, I think that this is going to ultimately be a really beautiful piece of art, and I would like to see this finished and rendered, and it could end up being one of those pieces of art that we turn into the art prints that we send out to our insane children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
So nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little bit of brainstorming and noodling. Now, speaking of art prints that we may send out to our insane children, and art prints, like art print worthy material, and then also this writing process and the process that we're doing to get the design Bible together. We did add to the team a new artist. His name is Adam, and he's based in Poland. And if you've been paying attention, you would have seen that he did artwork for Oz Adventures for the pitch that we did, because I was trying to be careful not to pull too many of our Alice artists away for that. And the work that he did for Oz Adventures was spectacular.
It's great.
I mean, just really great. This is work that he's doing for a section of the game that's been written out, that is a building that represents the physical space called Judgement, or the courthouse. And this is where Alice is going to run into the character called the Knave. Now, we've got the artists working on what the Knave looks like and who the Knave is, and he's on the side with the Queen, and he believes in order, and he's actually a former, he's represented as a kind of former insane child. So if you remember the insane children from either the first two games, he's one of those, but he's dressed up to be a part of the Queen's court. And throughout this sequence, he's kind of gently trying to push Alice away from continuing on her adventure. And so they end up in front of this courthouse, and then she has to go through a series of trials, which end with her being found guilty anyway. And then she's got to go through this crazy, wacky game of croquet. So these images are what are being pulled from what's being written about that section of the game. And they turned out amazing.
Pretty great. What's going on with that face?
So I wrote over on Twitter, this is what happens when you post on Twitter that you like something you're not allowed to like. This is what it feels like. How dare you find Joe Rogan talking to Alex Jones to be hilarious nonsense? No, you're not allowed to enjoy things. Stop that. So yeah, this is just representative of the notion that she's in this courthouse, and as you move through all these trials, she's constantly hearing that it's her fault and that she's being blamed. And so I don't know, these are just fantastic, beautiful interiors, though. I'm really happy with this.
That's a good one. I like that. These big old hands at the tops in all these pictures, are they going to follow you around? Or are they kind of static, do we think?
Well,
they seem to be everywhere.
I think that they're going to be part of the architecture, but I wouldn't be surprised to find that they can kind of come and go. We also should try to think about unique gameplay mechanics that we can roll into a place where the theme is blame and guilt and judgment. When I say that, as an example, when I was writing the section where Alice is making her way through the Queen's dungeon, and because the Queen's zone is representative of anger, I came up with this concept that throughout the Queen's dungeon, there are these red spotlights. And if you've seen what you can do with the Unreal 5 technology in terms of shafts of light, then you'll understand that there's some pretty cool things we could imagine, where you've got specific, very clear shafts of light that are shining onto different elements of the level geometry. And what I had written there was that if you end up inside of one of these red shafts of light, you are made angry. In other words, you become uncontrollable. So if you try to fight or move or whatever, all the reactions will be all messed up. That's meant to be analogous to making a decision while you're angry. You're trying to do anything while you're angry. It doesn't usually turn out great. That would be an example of a gameplay mechanic based on the environment that also links back to the story, and all of it kind of makes a holistic kind of sense, right?
Right.
What would make sense here? That's a question for us, for our crowd design team. How might those hands play into some sort of game mechanic? So yeah, something to think about.
Yeah. Lots of people saying that face looks like something. So Nixon, Benjamin Franklin, Alex Jones.
It's it's funny. It's a Rorschach test, right? It's just nebulous enough to let the subconscious try to fill in what you think it is. And because I mentioned Alex Jones, I hadn't seen that before. I hadn't thought about that, but I can imagine that after I said that, people would be primed to think like maybe Alex Jones. And so I don't know. Who do you see there?
I'm not seeing anyone really. There's no duplicates in my brain for this face currently.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if you know this, but it's prize time.
Oh my god.
And I just came up with an excellent question for giving away our garbage prints. Show the people what they're going to win, the piece of garbage they're going to get.
Piece of garbage right here.
Yeah, so the way this works is you got to let Nightbot know you're alive. That means you got to say something in the chat, and the question is a very simple and obvious one. Who do you see when you look at that face? I get George Washington.
I can see some ye olde man with the sort of like the long wig stuff going on.
Yeah, I can see George Washington. I think it has a lot to do with the hair, maybe a little bit of the eyes. I guess I could kind of see a little bit of a Jack Nicholson in there in the arched eyebrow here.
Right.
It's so kind of so much of a mishmash. I feel like you could see a lot going on in there.
Yeah, so.
But I will guarantee you this: he's got stinky breath.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, look, he's got no arms to brush his teeth. So he's just sitting there without brushing or flossing for God knows how long. So for sure, he's got very stinky breath.
Well, we've got some Donald Trump. We've got, I think I saw, was it Snape? Scrolled past someone from Harry Potter.
It's such a Rorschach
Snape,
test, yeah.
Ben Franklin.
Oh, I like that
mother-in-law.
one. Bilbo Baggins trying to get the ring. Yes, I can see that.
What?
That moment where his face kind of flashes to the demonish thing, you know?
Terrifying, that scene.
That is
It
terrifying.
always gets me.
It always gets me, too. My ex says, Miss Crimson Chief. Wow, okay.
Judge from Sleepy Hollow.
John Goodman. Yeah, I can see a little bit of John Goodman in
Yeah,
there.
maybe.
All
Maybe
right.
some Goodman.
That's a good one. That's a good one with Goodman. All right, let's roll it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's Nicholas Brokow, who said he doesn't watch Rick and Morty. You can't win a prize.
Yeah, roll it again.
Nicholas, you need to send an email to support@mysterious.design. And first thing you need to write in there is, I'm sorry that I don't watch Rick and Morty. Please forgive me, American and Martin. After that, include your name, your phone number, your mailing address. Do all of that in a format that does not cause confusion, anger, frustration, or any of these other negative emotions. Do that within 24 hours, and we will send you an art print.
Woo!
There you go. Congratulations, Nicholas.
Yeah.
Now, there's actually, I think there's 2 more images in this series that Adam did. This is, it's kind of a justice statue. Now, we have to think about what would the notion of blind justice be in a courthouse in Wonderland. Now, we know that at the end of this, she's gonna be found guilty. Like, she's not gonna
Spoilers.
She's not gonna get through this unscathed. So, I feel like this statue, our Alice, which I like a lot, by the way. I like the notion of a giant Alice statue as the scales of justice lady. But she's gonna have to be blindfolded, and perhaps done in such a way as to be really disturbing, like eyes poked out, or
Ooh.
we could do like that mouths for eyes things, and then have some birds sitting on the teeth. I don't know, just something
Right.
just something creepy and wrong, you know.
Mouths for eyes,
I
the
always
birds on
liked-
the teeth.
I always like mouths for eyes. Now, I don't know what they've cordoned off over here. They're probably doing some mopping or some cleaning there in the courthouse, but yeah, clearly...
It does seem to be a fairly modern cordoning off
Shh, be
structure.
quiet. Don't point out the inconsistencies. Who are those 2 guys just hanging out there? That guy
Yes,
looks like he's wearing like a Skeletor mask.
A couple of lawyers.
Something fishy going on here, Alice. Anyway, she's having a good old time flying through the scene. No worries. And this needs to get fleshed out and made more final. And then last in the series, these I can imagine using Unreal again, that we'll be able to animate and probably undulate, you know.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yeah.
Timey-wimey. Yeah.
Miss Crimson Chief says, did Gothic and Romantic architecture play an influence to any of this? Yeah, well, generally we have reference for Gothic style interiors and exteriors being what it is that kind of defined the look of Wonderland. And I think that when Adam goes and pulls reference for these images, he is sticking largely to that era, that domain.
I think Bop Noodle, there was a spill in the courthouse. Is he saying that maybe this could be like rolls of toilet paper or Bounty or something?
So this is meant to be her record.
Yes.
The idea is that these are the papers upon which all of her sins are collected and recorded. And it may not just be her sins, maybe the sins of others that she's aware of. I'm not quite sure. We have to come up with that. But for sure, this would be things about her. Now, we may not be able to come up with tons and tons of sins for a 12, 13-year-old girl, right? But a lot of it could just say it's your fault.
Right.
A lot of it could just say things that kind of reinforce her negative mindset about herself. So yeah, that's all going to be paper, and it's all going to be covered in text, in writing.
It's an ideal place to put some little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Put some writing in.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, I just had a flashback. I'm going off on a tangent now. It's a weird one.
Uh-oh, tangent time.
I was watching RoboCop 2. Is it RoboCop 2?
That is a real tangent right
Yeah.
there. Uh-huh.
And when he's got all of his directives scrolling past, you know, when they put too many in his head, I thought I saw a glimpse of something weird. So I went back and I went through that scene slowly, and there is some funny stuff in there. And one of his directives is something like, avoid meetings with Orion Pictures or something. But yeah, it all just like scrolled past.
Yeah, Easter eggs are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of room for Easter eggs. I actually have a friend of mine, Jamie, who lives on a boat with his partner Liz, and they are on YouTube. It's called Follow the Boat. And when I saw this, I thought, I'm going to make that my friend Jamie's face. That's just going to be my Easter egg to Jamie. One day he'll be playing through the game and be like, why is my
Jamie's
face in this game? Yeah. So anyway, these are the 4 images that Adam did for that section of the game. That's again, that's Judgment. It's the courthouse. It's a section inside the Queen's domain. And again, all of these bits of art are being done in sequence, working through the story as we proceed towards filling out the design Bible. So because I've been focused on story writing, and then the team is focused on producing art, you know, Alex has been going into the system that we use for generating and then tracking tasks, and he has been filling out all of the requests for pieces of art related to what's going on in the story. And let me tell you,
there's a lot.
There's a lot of there are a lot of requests flowing for the game and for the various areas in the game. So this is just, you know, if you go to Denial, which we've already got a lot of the art, you'll see a lot of the stuff over here is green, 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 green. So a lot of art for Denial has already been done. Queensland, there's a lot more red in Queensland, and stuff that's getting worked on, because that's, as you can see, the section that we're starting to review now. And there are a lot of requests in here that are red for various enemies and locations. And then going into Hatter's Realm after that, more and more and more red. So the tasks are being filled out, and then these tasks will be assigned to artists, and then the artists will produce the artwork at the same time that I'm trying to run ahead of them and produce the story. And then at some point in here, we will have finished fleshing out all the art and story, and we can build the design Bible. So that is what's going on these days. I think a lot of you know that. Maybe a lot of you have not been to watch one of our live streams before, but that's the general goal, thrust, the direction that we're heading in with Alice Asylum. So yeah, lots of good progress being made.
There is
on that kind of stuff. This piece of art I threw back in there. I think we'd actually gone and done this in review before, but this is from the Chess Realm. And I think that this got popped up again because maybe some more changes were made, or I think it kind of got lost in the ether or something like that. But we will be getting to the Chess Realm. That's going to be, I'm thinking it's one of the later stages that Alice will visit. Where I'm working right now, I just finished Veil of Tears, which, by the way, there's going to be some really cool stuff going on in there. It's all about frozen time. Alice, let's see if I can find this. Alice Madness Returns Water Drop. There was a piece of art that we did for concept in Madness Returns. There it is. I found it. And we never got to do it in the game, but I always wanted to. So I've written this into the story now. Do you remember this?
I do not.
All right. Well, so this is now going to be a thing in the Vale of Tears, that when you get to the Vale of Tears, that whole area of the game is going to be stopped in time. Now, that's meant to be an allusion to the situation you end up when you're depressed and time feels like it no longer moves forward. And so when Alice gets to the Vale of Tears, she's going to find that all the creatures and all of the action within the Vale of Tears has frozen. That includes the big giant raindrops that are falling out of the skies. So in the Vale of Tears, Alice is very small. She's like the size of an ant, which means that the raindrops are comparatively large. So they're going to be these frozen raindrops hanging around in the air that you're going to be able to platform your way through. So we're going to be able to jump in there, swim a little bit, and jump out the other side.
All right.
That ought to be fun.
That would be quite fun.
We're going to go for a new record with making the Vale of Tears incredibly...
That cool Alice there.
Which one?
Just below the Tears one.
This one?
Yeah.
She's all right. So we're going to try to make... I'm joking, by the way. In the first Alice game, the kind of Wonderland, Woodland, Vale of Tears area was incredibly frustrating for people. A lot of people complained about that. So I'm joking that when we try to implement this mechanic of jumping through giant drops of water, it's going to also be really broken and frustrating. Hopefully not.
It has the potential.
Jumping, swimming, combined together. Yeah, we'll see.
And if you fall, you start all the way at the bottom. Got to do it all again, back up.
Anyway, that's
no save points.
That's written into the story now, and then from the list that people talked about over on Patreon, the post in which we were trying to get a sense of where we should go, which is this post. Funeral Scene got a lot of votes.
It did.
The Basement got a lot of votes. The Underground World. So Vale of Tears has kind of fallen behind a little bit. That's okay. Still in the top 3. So this is the one I just wrote, and that's where I'm gonna put this jumping through tears thing. And then I think what I'm gonna work on next is this funeral scene stuff. So people are voting right now. Stop that!
Oh my god!
Stop voting right now. So expect to see art around the funeral world, and then we're also gonna do this. This one's a little bit nebulous. I feel bad that I wrote it this way because it's not super clear. Oh, I'm voting. Stop that. It's not super clear what this is, so we're going to need to work on fleshing that out. But the next thing I'm going to work on is the funeral scene.
All right.
Was there one of those that you liked in particular?
I like Vale of Tears. It's very pretty. Yeah, I think the funeral scene has lots of potential.
Yeah.
So I think that.
And now that I've shown you this, please don't block out the windows so that the poll watchers can't see what's going on and then dump like 800,000 votes on the Seacoast, which clearly nobody wants, or other, or Joe Biden. Don't do that.
It's getting political.
Hey, stop that. Don't do that. Leave leave Brittany alone. All right. Back to art review. So I think this was why I included that chess piece, the chess village image, was because this is a piece that, okay, so this got done. I remember now. This got done. This didn't get done.
Doesn't look like it's quite done.
Get bent, you big blob of tentacles.
Holding a shotgun?
I don't know. It's an Omri picture. Normally she's holding a cell phone. I'm not sure what's going on there. Something waving a big stick at the giant tentacle monster. Not something I would recommend you do. This is going to get cleaned up and delivered pretty soon. That was why I dropped the other piece in there, because Omri's promising to finish this piece of art.
All right.
All right.
All right. What else we got here? I saw somebody saying they're not sure they know what Lunderland meant or is.
Oh, that's easy. I'll show you. Lunderland is what you see at the end. I don't know that we. I don't know that we. Here, it's better I just show you.
Don't tell.
Lunderland is what happened at the end of Alice Madness Returns when she leaves the train station and walks out, and she sees something like this that's a combination of London and Wonderland, aka Lunderland. Now, the reason why this was done is that the ending of Alice Madness Returns was supposed to suggest that Alice's sort of power had finally transcended and allowed her to bring her visions into the real world. Yeah. So you got this combination of London and Wonderland. And the reason why I felt this was important was because it completed the arc of her journey, similar to the arc of the journey that Neo was on in The Matrix. There was first the overcoming of the internal obstacles, which was represented in the first game, and then there was overcoming of the external obstacles, which was represented by Bumby in the second game, and then there was the unifying moment where internal and external come together, and you see that Alice can pull Wonderland into London. That was also going to be the jumping off point for Alice being able to venture into the other wonderlands of other people, aka the story that we came up with for Alice Otherlands. So that was that's what a Lunderland is. It's just the melding together of Wonderland.
Whoever asked that question.
Yes.
P Glitter Poop Charms has asked this several times now, so let's get to it. Do you ever see sharks while sailing?
Why do you sound so disappointed in this question? Do you ever see sharks when you go sailing?
Just people, I see the same question over and over again.
Maybe because you aren't reading the comments.
Because you talk too much.
You
don't give me any time to read comments.
Bap, bap.
I was going to get a boat and go sailing, but I'm always afraid sharks will F me up. So do you see sharks when you're in Thailand?
P Glitter Poop Charms was the one that was railing against the person on Facebook for not Googling things. Comes here and asks me if there's sharks in the ocean.
Could that be answered on Google?
I'm pretty sure it can be. The answer to your question, P Glitter Poop Charms, is that yes, there are sharks in the ocean. And yes, we do see sharks when we go swimming in Thailand. But when it comes to the sharks that are in the water in the places where we sail in Thailand, none of them are very large. I think that the rule is that the warmer the water, the smaller the sharks kind of thing. That's why when you see like great white sharks, the really big ones, they tend to be in places like Australia where everything's trying to kill you and the ocean is actually relatively cold. If you ever try to go scuba diving in Melbourne, for instance, you have to wear like a 500 mil dive suit that makes you look like the Michelin Man, and it's just a very stupid thing in general. So, yeah, you will see sharks in the ocean because that's
and they will F you up.
But the majority of sharks don't go around biting people. Like, they just don't. There's 1,000 species of shark on the planet. There's only 2 or 3 that actively bite people, and there apparently is only one type of shark that likes to bite people. The others do it mostly accidentally. So anyway, in Thailand, no. But listen, by the time you've bought a boat, sharks will be the least of your concerns, all right?
With keeping the boat running be quite a high concern.
Yeah, and not on fire, and not sinking, and not filled with deadly fumes, and I mean, come on. All right, now this was a question again for crowd design. This has to do with the Queen, and so this is the design that we did for the Queen in Asylum. When you go to have an audience with her, Alice goes to an audience with the Queen. You can see there's a little mini version of that drawn down here. So this is the Queen's, what did we call that? Court? Chamber?
Throne room?
Throne room. There we go. You're useful for something, Martin.
Yeah.
Reminding me of the word throne room. So anyway, this is the design for...
I was supposed to remind you of something else. The color of this.
I thought I mentioned that.
Did you?
I don't know.
No.
It's okay. Martin's... By the way, he's pointing to the plushy dreadful bear, because the color on the fur of the plushy dreadful bare-fisted bear, the fur in the final version will be slightly different, but we'll post pictures and stuff online.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this question came up about the design of the queen, and it has to do with determining what she looks like in some of the scenes where obviously where Alice runs into her. So I think Alex put together this little handy dandy infographic that shows that in the first Alice game she looked like that, and in the second Alice game she looked like that. Although you end up, oh yeah, that's right, you get, I can't remember, there's something transforms about her in the second one. And now we're saying in the third Alice game she has the possibility to look like basically face mask Natalie Portman, basically Pink Floyd's The Wall. What's going on there?
Some Doctor Who monster.
I think it was Doctor Who people said she looked like in that one. Or this
even
thing.
more further down. Look at that one. Zoom in.
Yeah, so we need to make a decision about what the queen looks like. We might open this up as a poll as well, since the polls seem to be quite fun over on Patreon, and try to determine what the queen looks like. So, because we do need to decide this. Now, I'm not sure. I need to go back and read the question as it's proposed over on Monday, because I think that the question is in reference to not what does she look like when we see her on the throne, because I think when we see her on the throne it's going to be somewhat like this, but I think that the idea I had was that she's kind of mechanical on the throne here.
Yeah.
I should be careful. I'm going into very heavy spoiler territory.
Ooh.
All right, never mind. Anyway, there is another. There are going to be two different representations of the queen, and we need to decide if this is the first representation. What is the second representation?
Right.
And for anybody who's listening right now who has any notion of what the direction the story's going, I probably gave away a fair bit just now. But if you aren't following too closely, then spoiler avoided, I hope. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that the question that's being asked about what she looks like might have to do. There's a scene where the queen squishes Hatter's head and smushes his brains out. Yeah, that is where this gets asked.
Not in a kids in the hall kind of way.
No, not like a squishing your head at a distance. I think it's more like a straight up squishing your head. So yeah. All right. Spoiler warning. Can you poke your eyes out, or
what are we going to do when the spoiler's finished? We'll do this when the spoiler's over.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so if you don't want a spoiler, you're going to need to poke your ears out. Mute. Okay. So here's the deal. The queen's going to send Alice on this mission to collect the pieces of the champion, which are then going to be used for turning the Jabberwock into this like crazy fighting beastie machine. That's going to comprise a large portion of Alice's the backbone for the adventures that she goes on throughout the game, and you're going to take those back to Hatter, and then Hatter is going to graft those onto the Jabberwock, and the idea being that the Jabberwock is going to be used by the queen to defeat the chaos. So here's the thing: if you don't want the story screwed up and spoiled, please stop listening right now.
I think they already did.
Okay, well, I'm just making doubly sure. So now the thing is that we've introduced this concept of mechanical, they're called manipulators, early in the game. And it's going to turn out that when you've revived the Jabberwock ready to fight, and you go back to the queen on the throne will be revealed to be a manipulator. Dun, dun, dun! So she's not She's not really there on the throne, and it was a trick all along. Now, over in the chess realm, there's this thing they've got, which the side that is aligned with the chaos. Remember, the queen is very anti-chaos, right? The queen hates chaos. She's all about order, and she just wants everything to be clean and perfect and good. And she would hate a scene like this because it's all blood splattered and disgusting and horrible. And she's very much against the side of the chess pieces who are aligned with the chaos. There's this side of the chess pieces. I think they're the red pieces or the black pieces. I don't know. They're the colored pieces, and I don't mean that in a racist fashion, please. But they are aligned with the chaos. They have a religious nonsense going around it. They worship it. They willingly give themselves over to the chaos, and then they worship this thing they have called the rule, a chess rule that they think is going to allow them to basically take over Wonderland with the chaos, right? But once the thing with the Jabberwock happens and the Jabberwock goes to fly off, you think it's going to go over there and destroy that side of the chess kingdom. It actually goes and reveals that building doesn't say the rule on the outside. It says the ruler. And it's not like a measuring ruler. It's the queen. It's the actual queen.
Right.
And so now she's going to be in a position where she's got all of the tentacly chess pieces and the Jabberwock and Alice all right where she wants them. And her plan all along was to ascend up through child Alice and destroy adult Alice. And she thinks that death is the ultimate state of order. Right? So for her, she's the building notion in adult Alice's mind that suicide is the way out of all of this, because to her, the death of Alice, the death of Wonderland, she believes is the ultimate state of being in order forever and ever and ever, right? Until the heat death of the universe. So all of that kind of crazy stuff is going to happen and unroll. And yeah, there you go.
All right.
Anyway,
spoilers over?
I think spoilers are over. You want to wait? Okay. There you go. So anyway, that's a lot of the stuff that's going on in the building of the story right now, and that's why we need two variations on the queen. So for those of you that didn't poke your ears out in the middle of all of that, maybe what I'll do is set up a poll over on Patreon, and we can try to vote on what version A looks like and what version B looks like.
All right.
Something like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. So all good.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on there in the story.
There is.
Yes. Nobody's head exploded over in the chat for the telling of all the spoilers.
No, they were fine.
All right.
I know they have indicated to other people that the spoilers have ended. It's all good.
Well, there you
what
go.
A friendly bunch we've got.
You know, there is a lot that's going to be, like, if you are following along through this process, those would be critical twists and turns in the story that you maybe wouldn't want to have be made aware of.
I think so.
Yeah. But I am curious, without messing up the story, the spoilers and whatever, what people in the chat think about that, because that is going to form some of the core twist of the narrative. And is it a positive reaction, a negative reaction?
Seem positive.
Yeah.
Nicholas Brokaw only half listened through that. So they're all good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What I heard, it sounds great. Bloody Circuits says it's a really cool idea. And now we're going on to dresses.
Dresses, all right. So this is the sleeping gown. Omri can't help himself but design dresses, and that's fine. We love Omri for that, and we love the dresses very much. And I know that our cosplay audience love the dresses. So, Lucky Dragon.
I see it.
Lucky Dragon, you know that before we start to live stream, we actually will point out the fact that at some point during the live stream, you're guaranteed to make a comment like this. And every time we make a post on Patreon, you're guaranteed to make a comment like that. We just want you to know, we know.
We see you.
We see you. We know. All right, so the Omri's working on dresses. This is the dress for slumber, and this will be something that you see in the very opening scene of the game. And the idea that Omri had written about this was it's like Alice is a moth to flame. In other words, she's running through the night, through the darkness, being chased by the moon towards the burning house where her family are barbecuing. And so there's meant to be a kind of notion of this being very glowy, very light, and you can actually see in the chess piece here that he's done actual moth.
Actual moth.
So that's very cool and very pretty.
Yeah.
So yay to Omri for doing another cool dress design. I'm sure our cosplayers will be very pleased to see that. Maybe there needs to be something where like there's actual glowing light elements in there.
Maybe. Emo Nerd Queen, a cosplayer, asks if we would make official costumes of Alice's dresses. Would love to buy one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, is that as Adios Aquarium? Is that like saying goodbye to your fish? I don't understand. So. Anyway, as Adios Aquarium says, some dresses, a lot of dresses actually are available on Amazon, and those are not licensed and they're not official, and yet there's some very high quality ones there that have had a lot of production work go into them, and they're very expensive. And when I've pointed that out to certain giant corporate entities in relation to, hey, why don't you let me, the IP creator, help take control of that? By the way, when I say that, I don't mean like knock all those other people out of business. I just mean offer the like proper licensed official version of that. Then it's crickets. So I don't know. I want to do the dresses. Yen wants to do the dresses. Look, my wife is a fashion designer. We're in the perfect place in the world to do the dresses, but it's up to somebody else, and I can't force them to say yes. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Apparently can't even pay them to say yes. That's the really big problem. Okay, you know what time it is?
Yeah.
I hope you have a question ready.
Yeah. I do, actually. It's a good one.
I don't believe you.
It's not that good. We all know that Pea Glitter Poop Charms is scared of sharks effing them up. What do you think is the scariest thing in the ocean?
Oh, I know the answer to that. What do you think?
Some kind of octopus, I suspect. A squid.
Keep going. I think you're almost there. Don't look at what I'm typing over here.
Really? They're not scary. I mean, I'm sure they're deadly, but they're not scary.
So, what I'm most afraid of is in when I'm sailing around in Thailand, in particular, and it's not sharks. It's these things. So a box jellyfish, which are called crypto. They have a really cool sort of whatever their biological classification name is. It's like cryptic something, face burny, death by pain creature. This is what I'm most afraid of. So the problem is that they are very small.
How small?
So the body of one of these things might only be a few inches,
right.
So sort of like that. That's it's like this big around. So smaller than a bell pepper. Do you know what a bell pepper is? You don't eat vegetables, so I don't think you know. But the tentacles that come off the back of it can be up to 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet in length.
Right.
And they're very difficult to spot in the water. They're practically invisible. Here's the thing: it's not that they kill you, that you fear them for. I mean, that is one of the reasons. The reason that you really fear them is because they kill you in the most painful way that you could possibly die, basically compared to any animal on Earth, because they cause. So when they sting you, and they sting across all kinds of parts of your body, you see people with these lines.
Right.
So why don't we look this up, because it's a terrible thing to look at. Yeah, here we go. Box jellyfish sting. You want to that's really so this is where the tentacles have hit people. When this happens, this burns like fire, and it burns for days and days, and what happens is people die of pain. You die from the pain of this. not from anything else other than the fact that it causes your body to leak potassium. And when you leak potassium, then all your organs and your nervous system, everything shuts down. So they are awful, terrible, horrible, terrible, awful creatures that you never want to have an encounter with. And yet they just kind of float around in the ocean out there, invisible, and they kill you.
It's kind of scary.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I still don't fear them.
Well,
like
you should.
having being dragged down into the depths by some super powerful tentacled beastie.
Look, you would rather die quickly of a shark bite, I promise you, than die from one of those. All right, so that's it. Let's just roll it. Pea glitter poop charms.
Ooh,
yay!
Imagine that.
You've got Nightbot smiling upon you. Congratulations. Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you gonna tell them how to do it?
Do the thing. Support at mysterious.design. Tell us what you won. It's the tiny sacrifice your queen print. Name, address, and phone number formatted correctly. Do that within the next 24 hours, or you're not getting your thing, and we'll all laugh at you.
And a box jellyfish will sting you in the face, and you'll die painfully.
We'll send you one of those through the post.
We should do that. Ooh, what's this? I don't know. It looks like just a thing of water. There's nothing in it. It's a box jellyfish. All right, so there is some work being done on a very critical, pivotal scene that happens. Well, we're not 100% sure just yet when you see this in the narrative flow of the game. I think it's actually quite late in the game, but you will eventually see a scene where adult Alice hands her rabbit plush to a little girl on the streets of London. Now this is going to be, I think it should be in a scene like this. It's sort of nighttime and it's raining, and because this is supposed to be a very sad and depressing and sort of end of the story kind of moment. So imagine that combined with that, and you'll kind of get a sense for what that scene is.
Mm-hmm.
And Octo Chicken says, I still think it should happen at sundown, then turn to night and start raining after the handover, or, blunt metaphor. Yeah, you're right. I mean, in film, a lot of times that would be the way it would happen. It would happen and then the rain would start, right?
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yep.
To be honest, on some of the finer points about this sort of scene, you can imagine that we'll have a team that builds the environment and does the characters and the animation and the rigging, and then we're going to have a sort of a scene director who will go in there and light it and create the action. We can, of course, write what we want here for this, and it may be like Greg said, but it's possible that in the creation and editing of it, there's a couple of variations, and then we end up as a team choosing which one kind of plays the best. So I think, but we're kind of all on the same page. It's raining, or it's gonna be raining, and there's gonna be a handover of the rabbit. Of course, a lot of you helped comment last time around that it should be Alice handing the rabbit not just to any old street urchin like a little boy, but in fact it should be like a small mini version of herself, which of course plays quite well into the overall story and where we're going with that. So
right.
And then I don't know, something's going on here with her face. I'm not making fun, by the way. I'm just having fun. Please, artists, don't get mad at me. I guess they're just kind of messing around with the kind of emotion she's trying to express as she does this. I'm not sure.
I guess so.
So yeah, this will be a pivotal, critical, important moment in the series overall. Hey,
who's that?
Look at that. That's just happened to be in the folder. He's so cute. If you don't have a kid and you can make one and happy about it, then I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. He's just running around and making all kinds of funny noises and pooping in his pants. And
stop putting your hands in your mouth.
Oh no, he can't. He's got teeth. He's got teeth coming.
Has he?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Lots of teeth coming in. That's it. I think we got to the end of the stuff in the art folder.
It certainly looks like it.
That's it. Get your hand out of here. I can't. These fingers taste great. Yummy, yummy fingers. Why don't you grab some of the questions that people wrote?
Did you not bring them over?
Did I? What? Me? All right, I'll go grab them. You gonna grab them?
I'll go grab them.
All right. Well, while Martin goes to grab the questions, I should tell everybody what's going on. So, sorry, there is a lot of business development stuff going on, and we have sent this thing got sent to Redacted. Now we expect to have a conversation with Redacted next week. They're sending along a list of questions and feedback for our pitch, but the process is now going to kind of like their feedback and questions. That is positive, because the other way this could have gone would have been them being like, no, your pitch looks like crap, get out, so that didn't happen. That means that we are still on the path. We are still working our way towards a deal with Redacted. I still give the possibility of a deal here like a greater than 50% chance. Now, I'm normally pretty pessimistic about things like this, so there's a lot of cases where, yeah, we've pitched and it's been cool. I think most of you figured out at one point we pitched to Netflix, and that kind of started off all right. But even as we were doing that, I always kind of gave it like a 10-20% chance of happening, just because I know how Hollywood is. This case we're pitching to, I think we've mentioned, it's a Chinese publisher and financier. They have money set aside specifically for stuff like this. They seem very positive. So I think we've put together a really good team and a pitch. So anyway, we are on track, and we should have some feedback from them next week. Now, in addition to this, I've been trying to work to parlay this into other pieces that we could have put in place. There is now a second Redacted at the table that has to do with games publishing, and I've been talking with them for a while. And then also another Redacted at the table that has to do with film and television. And so what's interesting is that there's some film and TV people who've caught wind of all of this. Apparently they watch the live streams. So Anthony,
hello.
If you're out there watching this, then hello, I'm talking about you and your team. They seem like a team that would be a good fit, and they seem very interested in things like Oz Adventures. So there's a way that perhaps we end up partnering with companies like that, so that we're not only doing the games production, but there's also a link to film and television, and of course the stuff we've talked about with merchandise and all that, and books and you name it, right? So the general report as of right now is that it feels like the whole enterprise is sort of growing and maybe gaining steam, and it all feels very positive. So yeah. So we've got Redacted and Redacted.
The three little
too.
Redacteds.
Yeah. There's I wish I could say, I mean, I think some of these companies wouldn't mind if I said it, but I'm a little bit leery about getting people all wound up, and I also don't want there to be like a headline tomorrow at PC Gamer or whatever. I don't even know what publications still exist anymore, but I don't want to see like a headline when I wake up that, American reveals Redacted is bleh and says that he's doing a deal with them, because, this is all still somewhat uncertain. So let's be a little cautious. But I feel very positive. How do you feel? You're seeing a lot of this from the inside.
Yeah, well, I get to see your little updates across wherever you post it and tell us, and you're always very positive and happy about the meetings and chats with all of these Redacteds. So yeah, it all sounds pretty good. I'm always knocking wood for good luck and whatnot.
There you go. You got some questions. Let's go for it.
Well, not really in any specific order, but let's just pull some comments out. I think that we should start doing that whole, write question or suggestion or stuff in the comments again, just to prevent every comment being come out. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So what we got here? This lots of comments in the latest post about their people's calendars arriving. Taylor Gowan said theirs arrived, and they noticed how nicely it was packaged. Prevented the calendar from bending very well. Andrew actually said, "Nicely done, guys," when they opened the box and saw the packaging. Pretty good.
There you go.
Jaded Moon got their calendar, amazed at the quality, and quite likes how you can hang it. There isn't actually any hole through the art. That's great. Calendar is still available for sale on Mysterious, by the way, if anyone's wanting a 2021 calendar with excellent art in it.
And excellent packaging. Don't forget.
Excellent packaging.
Don't forget how excellent the packaging is.
It's Lucky Dragon says about something from that post.
Which post are you referring to?
It's the latest one.
The latest
The
post.
Judgment cometh.
That one.
I guess.
Okay.
I hope Alice spontaneously bursting into flame isn't just a visual gag. Something out of left field. I would hope it foreshadows some kind of ability. You actually replied.
Yes.
Quelling the fact that it wouldn't be just a gag for like shits and giggles.
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned that I think it's a good idea to have that be a kind of foreshadowing, though in that instance, the bursting into flames, it would have to be foreshadowing because it happens long before, it may happen long before, or I can't remember. The timing of it needs to be worked on, though, but I think it's a good idea to have instances where we might see something like that in a cutscene, like an emotional outburst that results in her catching on fire, which we then later transform into one of her actual in-game abilities or something like that.
Yeah. What else we got here? Carolina Belomstranova. Yeah. I see those hands as pointing down at you, down at whoever is going through the hall. I love it. I think a lot of people like those.
Yeah, those turn out really cool. So this artwork with the hands was originally, there was a piece that Omri did. I don't know.
Long time ago.
It was a while ago. It was earlier in this year, 2020. And it featured these hands pointing down. So when Adam went to do further exploration of this area, he obviously used that as inspiration because I specifically asked him to. I said I loved Omri's original piece of art, and please be sure to incorporate those design elements into this. And he did a great job.
Very much so.
Yeah.
William Searles loves everything about this. Like literally everything. The article mentions projection, so obviously Alice is going to have to be very honest with herself, and that fits perfectly with the rage of going through that painful self-reflection only to be told it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I think to have her going through this, the dialogue will have to obviously carry a lot of the thoughts like this. If she's being blamed, then the character on screen, the young Alice, is going to have to communicate back to the environment and the voices that are blaming her. And I think there's a chance there for her to maybe push back a little bit on the blame, but then later on, I'm thinking maybe, because I had this thought the other day that because this is a journey through PTSD, but it's kind of like in a way that child Alice is journeying through the PTSD that the adult has suffered, and the child has never really been exposed to because she's been locked up in denial for all this time. But because of the way she's a child, she can kind of have a looser, freer, what's the word I'm looking for? More. So the thing I keep thinking about is that the older we get, the less flexible we are. That our brains get old and we get set in our ways, right? And we become fixed upon our personalities and who we are, and it's very difficult for us to move off of those types of things. One of the unique things that children have about them is that they tend to be much more malleable. They tend to be much more flexible, more moldable. They're softer, and they can bounce back much better than adults can. So you put an adult with a child into a roller coaster and then roll it off a mountain full of like rape and disaster and fires and burning down and murder. The end of that, the adult will come out super traumatized and will maybe never recover. The child, depending on their age and their predisposition, may kind of brush it off, and then go on to lead a normal life, right? So that has me thinking that, one of the interesting aspects of an adult who's been traumatized, then growing up through trauma, not having really dealt with it, but the fact that she locked a portion of her child self away in kind of a safe space throughout all of this, and then the child can travel through the adult's experiences and the representation of the PTSD. Alice in this environment, the young one, can basically be like, F you, I'm getting over this, where the adult in that instance may have a much harder time coping and reacting. So anyway, that just kind of is something I've been kind of playing around with my head, and I think a lot of that's going to be reflected. Obviously she gets through all this, right? She travels through all this, but I think a lot of the concept of what I just described has to be surfaced to the player, to us as the people playing the game, through young Alice's dialogue with herself and with the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did just have a VPN wobble. People buffering, press F. But yeah, it didn't die again. Kept going.
All right.
So we're back.
Get bent, Great Firewall.
Austin Cook, perhaps we could bring back the throwing cards. I love that weapon in American McGee's Alice. I think it would be the perfect weapon for the realm of the Queen. Then Carolina replies, that's a great idea. American mentioned heavy artillery / grenade launcher. Just imagine an explosion and cloud of shrapnel, only it's cards instead of shrapnel.
Yeah, I mean, we are working on a section about weapons here. It looks like it needs to be filled out a bit. But this is the big list of weapons that will be, and we've got quite a lot of concepts in here that have been done by all of our art team, and I'm sure that somewhere in here is cards. So yeah, we'll bring cards back to the table.
Yep. Moving on to another post now. I think this is the poll post, because there's a bunch of people here. Wendy J, bigging up the Veil of Tears, as is Nicholas Brokaw, who is in the chat. Patrick Corrican says they like the idea of Alice having to find those pieces in darker, new parts of her mind. She has to go to places of her psyche that she's afraid to.
Could be.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think a lot of these places are places that the child has never been. Yeah. So I suspect that as a rule, that's what's going to be happening.
All right. What's this? Not sure about flesh as one of the Jabberwock 2000 pieces. It seems very non-mechanical. What was that about? Well,
in the flesh concept, we've said that doesn't necessarily have to be flesh. It could be like the Jabberwock's ultimate new skin is some sort of metal, armory, chainmail-y stuff, right? But we're just calling it flesh right now. Now, it may end up being that we call it armor, or we call it skin, or something like that.
Right. Rene Castro Borrego also would love to revisit the Veil of Tears, and also suggests maybe the Cheshire Cat's home. We've got the Cheshire realm.
Yeah, we are going to do
our minds.
The Cheshire Cat's the lair, like that. Patient 322. If we have cannons going off, set it to the Overture of 1812. Okay. And then, now that you mention it, how about a suit of cards for Mysterious? Yeah, we're working eventually to make some cards. We've been thinking about that for quite a long time.
Really have.
Yeah, we do make a set of cards in the thing called Out of the Woods. Yeah. We'll get there.
What else do we have here? Rugna's Custom Creations is a big fan of the Seacoast idea. Includes oysters, lobsters, walrus, and carpenter. And yes to a world of mirrors. windows and backwards things.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that an option?
It seemed like it was one of the few people who liked the Seacoast concept. I just threw that in there randomly because it is mentioned in the original books as an actual location. It's where the mock turtle comes from, and not many people seem to like that idea. So,
all right,
that was an outlier of a like for that.
Sorry, Rugner. Lucas Kennick likes the cloud castles idea, but rather than fluffy clouds and blue sky, a horrible storm in the blackness of night.
I saw that, and I think that in some cases that could make a lot of sense. I think that Asylum is definitely going to be a much moodier game when you get to some of these locations. It will be rainier and darker than what we did in Madness Returns, because there were places in Madness Returns with sort of like blue sky, white puffy clouds. So, but we have to be careful not to be too dark and moody, or otherwise people will just get depressed and turn it off, right?
It's too grimdark.
It is. Can be.
Salah just says, I'm happy with whatever.
Salah is, I think, the king of comments. That's what I think.
The king of comments, perhaps. I think we'll move on to another post, the Ye Oldie Toy Shop post.
That was the one with the griffin on the bag.
Right.
Yeah.
Andriel says, take out the second "the" in the toy shop title and have Jabberwock, not Jabberwocky.
Yeah, we took some feedback and we fixed that. Yeah, for sure. There were a lot of comments on this, and I think at the end it got fixed.
Jabberwock did win out over Jabberwocky.
Which, I mean, I knew that when I wrote the post, but I still wanted to make sure everybody was on board and knew why we were doing it. So.
Yep, yeah. Red Breloom agrees. I also say Jabberwock over Jabberwocky.
As you should.
As you should, Red Breloom.
Well, Martin, would you look at the time? It is now time. I hope you've got a last question.
Well,
why don't you come up with the question while we just really quickly do the thing? We're going to give away one more art print.
Yeah.
Where is art prints? I don't know what's happened to it. Actually, we never pulled that art print up. Anyway, we're going to give away one last garbagey art print.
Yeah. Enjoy the tiny garbage art print.
There you go.
It's not garbage. It's really pretty.
It is very pretty. And it'll get shipped anywhere in the world. All you got to do is make Nightbot happy. So what's the question?
Well, I did just see someone in the comments like 5-10 minutes ago asking if we, me, you, whoever, whatever, had pre-ordered their PS5.
No.
No. Because we're in China, and I mean, you probably could pre-order something on Taobao from a seller, but it wouldn't be official. But yeah, my question is, in this new generation, are you PS5, are you Xbox, or are you just PC Master Race?
Well, I think you and I have already talked about this on previous streams, and I've even explained how my previous Xboxes all died to the point where I got sick of it, and I finally decided to... Yeah, so you already know this.
Yeah, I'm PlayStation guy all the way. So yeah, I haven't pre-ordered, but you know, I'm keeping an eye on the video game shop on Beijing Lu. I've got them on my WeChat, so whenever they post up that they've got some in stock, I'll check the price, blah blah blah. I'll have a look. So yes, I'm in Camp Sony.
Yeah, I'm on board here with Bop Noodle, Nintendo Switch boy.
That's not an option.
Yes, it is. It's an excellent device. I like the Nintendo Switch a lot. All right.
People have really been bigging up the controller, saying it's like a game-changing, truly next-gen feeling piece of tech. I'll forget the actual console. The way you interact is amazing, allegedly.
I'll believe it when I see it. All right, we're going to roll it.
When I feel it.
Let's do the rolling here. Lady Ponsis.
Okay.
All right, congratulations, Lady Ponsis. You have won the last and final piece of art for today. You do need to send an email to support@mysterious.design. Include your name, your phone number, your address, and the fact that you've won one of these things. Also do all that within 24 hours and try to do it in a format that does not cause frustration or anger or any other sort of negative emotion on myself or Martin's part as we process what you've done and turn it into a label and send it out to you in the world. Yeah. So there you go. Thank you, everybody.
Seemed to be fairly even from what I was seeing.
Even.
A fairly even spread of who wants what.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yay.
Right.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been lots of fun. I think we have a lot more art, story, design stuff to catch up on with you in 2 weeks' time. I also hope that by the time those 2 weeks have gone by, we will actually be able to start talking about who is and what is redacted and what that means for our development on Asylum. Because look, at the end of the day, I know Poop P, whatever the name was,
Poopy glitter poop face.
You know, we find people online being frustrated sometimes about how long this is all taking, and the best, I guess you could call it revenge, although it's not really revenge, but the best outcome for all this would just simply be that we can one day jump on here and say, Redacted is fill in the blank, the name, and we are doing a deal and we are moving forward towards making something. That's the best STFU that we could ever hope for. So anyway, fingers crossed that in a few weeks' time we may have some more information to give you on that sort of thing.
Let's hope.
At least we're going to come back with more art, with more story, with more plushies, with more Martin, more of me being angsty,
Lulu.
grumpy to him, and more Lulu. And maybe more pictures of Lucky.
Maybe.
There is a bunch of stuff you can do to support the work we're doing here. It's over on my blog, AmericanMcGee.com. I don't know where my blog, there it is. Anyway, just travel over to AmericanMcGee.com, and then you will find this long list here where you can give us your name on a mailing list, or you can buy stuff from Mysterious, or you can sign up for Patreon, and that's it.
Very, very succinct and thorough.
Get bent.
Get bent.
All right. All right, everybody. Much love to you wherever you are in the world. Don't pay too much attention to the news. Try to get outside and, relax.
But don't get too close to other people.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing all right. And hopefully we're heading into a better life now. So
Jib it up.
Jib it up. Bye-bye.
Bye.